is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today I'm talking about advice that you received from your mom. Have you ever gotten that little special piece of nugget advice from your mom? I think that's kind of one of those special things. And although my mom has been gone for a long period of time, I think it's really important to kind of understand the energy of the message. And I think this is kind of one of those cool ones. One of the things that I learned from my mom's mom, and my mom really kind of brought this home for me. So hold on just a second. So my mom's mom, my grandmother, always said, don't ever offer advice to someone who doesn't ask for it. And I thought, that's interesting, because I just love giving people advice about all kinds of crazy things. But I really did understand this. I was listening, shortly thereafter, I was listening to my mom talk to a friend of hers, and her friend gave my mom a piece of advice, and my mom was almost like offended by it, like, how dare you, kind of almost energy with her energy. I bet it was kind of like, how dare you say this to me, or whatever else, or kind of give me that advice. And I thought, how interesting. But I also realized, going back to what my grandmother had told me a few weeks before, it's kind of like interesting. A lot of times when someone gets mad or upset about your advice, it's because they didn't ask for it. If someone's asking for it, definitely give them your advice, kind of give them your insight, or kind of something to think about that they could kind of like, okay, see it from a different perspective. But I will tell you, a lot of times, someone's really not asking for your advice. They're just wanting to tell you the story. They're like, kind of like, I want to energetically kind of like let this energy out. I want to tell you what happened in my day or whatever else. And a lot of times they just really require the support from you. They don't really require you to kind of like make it better or change anything or do anything differently. What it is only giving advice to people that ask for it. What do you think I should do? How do you think I should deal with this? Then they're really asking you for that. They're asking you to kind of step out of your comfort zone and to do that. And I think that is kind of one of those special things to understand. If they're not asking for it, they're really not asking for it. So let's do some angel cards and get us some insight into all things asking for advice. Romance. I think, okay, so a lot of times romance advice can be really important out there. And a lot of times what they're only doing is kind of sharing their perspective. This is how I got my boyfriend. This is how I got my husband. This is how I got this. This is how I got that energy. But a lot of times, like, that incident is like theirs. You can't really like recreate that. And I think that's one of those interesting ones, like, a lot of times, like, people are like, oh, I got this energy to do this. I got this person by doing this, and that's how you should do it. And a lot of times it doesn't really work that way. It's one of those, you're not in high school forever. So one of my girlfriends was a cheerleader, and her husband was a football player. And so they became best friends in high school and then got married and in college. But not everybody's going to fall in love like that. Not every story is like that. Not every story is like my husband and I. Like, we met at work and we dated literally for 6 months at work with nobody knowing that we were dating. It was kind of like a secret. And literally when we came out and told people that we were dating, people were like, oh my gosh, because we kept that to ourselves. We did not bring that energy into work. So it's kind of like interesting. But when you have someone asking for advice, make sure that you kind of take your time, because a lot of times they don't ask everybody for advice. So this one's kind of retreat is really when someone's asking you advice, maybe it's time for you to think about it, or kind of, like I said, give them a piece of food for thought, kind of like, why don't you think about it this way, or think about it this in a different way than you've been thinking about it. And that can really open you up to a lot more avenues of assisting them in understanding what's going on around them. My last card is kind of meditation. A lot of times meditating on it, or kind of just really going into that deep thought and kind of like almost like a retreat, kind of like, what else do I require? Because a lot of times, like, they're telling you the story and it's kind of like, this is the way their story is going. But a lot of times the advice that they require is completely opposite. So really think about that, and kind of looking at it from different angles can be a really great way to come at it. And a lot of times the only way you can do that is through meditation. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.